everyone, and welcome to a new journey you are about to begin today with Fastway.lk. So you have chosen to do chartered accountancy at our institution. So my name is Gavin, and I'll be teaching you business fundamentals, law, and tax. So we have other talented individuals who will be lecturing you with other different modules under CA, right? So anyways, you have chosen CA for a particular reason, and there can be multiple reasons as to why you have chosen to study chartered accountancy, regardless of whether you are studying with Fastway.lk or anything else, but you have chosen to study chartered accountancy, and you are here today to study chartered accountancy, right? So my module will be, like I said, specifically focused on this area, and you will have 3 other modules in this level as well, right? So let's get to about the program. I'll quickly just give a recap of what the program is and what you'll be getting out from the program, but also specifically focusing on this particular module, right? So when it comes to teaching, I'll be using Single and English both to teach for the benefit of everyone. And you might also be wondering, okay, look, what if I did A-levels in a different stream, right? What if I did science? What if I did maths? What if I did arts? Is this program only for commerce students? Don't worry, it's nothing like that. When I was doing SIMA also at one point, I think more than 75% of the population who came into SIMA were actually students who did A-levels in science and maths stream, right? So it was not that difficult. It was very easy to pick up. So we at Fastway.lk, what we do is we teach you from ground up. We don't rush into things. So we'll teach you from the beginning, so that you will have a proper understanding of what you are actually learning and what you are actually trying to get out of this program. So in terms of business fundamentals, law and tax, right? But always when you are going into a professional program, right? So you may have done your A-levels, you may have done diploma, you may have even done a degree. Always the theory is there, right? The theory you can even learn and understand yourself. But what you need to take away from our lecturers here is, how do you actually apply this theory on a practical scenario, right? So you may be working, you may be following other different programs, but at the end of the day, all of it boils down to, okay, this is the theory they are giving you, but how do you actually use it in your practical day-to-day life, not only in your personal life, but also when it comes to your professional life, and also when it comes to working in corporates, right? So if you are going to pursue in the field of accounting, if you are going to pursue in the field of finance, or if you have a vision of moving into management, all of that, it doesn't matter. This we at Fastway.lk will be providing you a workbook which contains questions from each chapter. So it will be MCQs, it will be matching, it will be short answers, right? So you will get a custom-made workbook by our institute, and also you will be getting a short note, right, made by our lecturers, which will be easier for you to study. Also, you will be getting study packs from CA, which is a standard study packs. But apart from that, we will be providing you with a workbook and a short note to it, which you can refer for when you're doing an exam, right? So let's quickly get into the lesson and let's see what this module has to offer, and let's take it from there, right? Okay, before we get into the lesson, now you guys have chosen chartered accountants, so you need to understand what you are going to get out of this, right? You are spending your time here, you are spending your money here. You need to know what your ROI is, what your return on investment is, right? It won't be quantitative at first. It will be a bit of a qualitative return, but this is your pathway when you are doing chartered accountants, right? So you will first of all start with the business level, then gradually move on to the corporate level, and then go to the strategic level. Once you achieve the strategic level, you will be awarded this associate chartered accountant qualification, right? So you are officially a chartered accountant, right? And why does this matter? When you are going to a job in terms of an accountant's position, if you are a chartered accountant, you are much more recognized than a normal accountant. Okay, so that advantage is there for you. And since this is a standardized curriculum, it is well recognized not only in Sri Lanka but also outside the world. So you will have recognition there as well. Okay, then it will be much more easier in terms of navigating onto your management. If you want to do management, you can even navigate on that side. Or if you want to continue accounting or finance, perfectly fine. You can navigate on that side as well. But at the end of this program, you will be a qualified chartered accountant, which will look very nice on your CV. and also it will give you a much more recognition than a normal accountant, like I said. Okay, thank you. Now, what is a business? Before we get in, right, we need to understand what is a business. Now, normally a business is recognized or defined as basically it's an economic activity which will fulfill a human need or want. Now, when we take humans, all humans have needs and all humans have wants. So, in general, humans are born with needs, things like food, shelter, education, and all of that. And there are wants. What are wants? What is the different ways of how you fulfill those needs? Now, let me give an example. Now, we have a need food. We are hungry, right? How are you going to fulfill it? You can either go and eat rice. Hari amma gedara battයක් හදනවා. ගෙදර ගිහලා ගෙදර තියෙන බත් එක්ක කනවා. නැත්තම් මම Uber Eats එකක් දානවා. නැත්තම් pick me food එකෙන් pick me food එකක් කෝඩි කරනවා. නැත්තම් පිලවුස් එකෙන් ගිහලා කොට්ටුවක් කනවා. How you want to satisfy that hunger is up to you, and that will depend with your salary and income level and all of that. හරිද? එතකොට why do business exist? Business exists primarily in order to fulfill these needs and wants. Now, when it comes to business concepts, right? So there are few concepts that we need to understand as to what the business actually need. Okay, let me get the pen. Hold on. Right. Now, right. When you take a business, okay. Right. When you take a business, there are two main objectives a business has. One can be either for profits, right? Other one can be not for profit, which means they will be for social welfare. Hari, charity organizations, those are that. Now, when you take a business, like I said, either they are for profits or they are not for profits, which is social welfare. Now, when we are, that is how business is basically the objective, right? So, if we go back to the slide, if you look at the core values and the objectives of business, right? Profit is one of the main objectives a business wants to achieve. Why? Without profits, you cannot survive, right? You need profits to grow, you need profits to survive, you need profits to expand in your market, you need profits to expand your operations. So, profit plays a very important role in a business. Next one, what is this value? As a business, what is the value you are giving your customer, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you are pricing your product in a very high price that the value is high. No, that is not what value means. Value means, hari, mama ගෙවන ගානට මම කන්සියුමර් කෙනෙක් විදියට මම ගෙවන ගානට මට ඒ ගානට හරියන්න මට satisfaction එකක් හම්බ වෙනවද? Do I get a proper utility? Do I get a proper advantage for the amount I am actually paying? Right? That is the value a business can create. That value will in turn create what? Customer loyalty, right? Where there is high value, there will be high customer loyalty. Then what? Employment, right? Business exists, but when businesses are coming up, what happens? They will be giving opportunity. People need to come and work, right? People need to work in a business. Then what happens? They get employment opportunities. People who are unemployed within the economy will get employment opportunities. Then what happens? It will become, it will also contribute to the economy. Why? Because one of the main problems an economy is trying to solve is unemployment. Okay. So once you build a business, you are also providing people jobs. Right. Next one, societal contribution. What is this? Businesses act as responsible citizens. They pay taxes and adopt sustainable practices. Right. So what do businesses do? They also pay taxes. When you pay taxes, what happens? Government is getting a revenue, right? When government is getting a revenue, what can they do? They can provide the necessary infrastructure needed for the country, right? They can build roads, they can build highways, they can build hospitals, they can provide the schools, right? They can provide better facilities in the country when taxes come in. So businesses, right? The core concept can be profit, employment, society, and all of that. But now, in the century we live in, right? With this whole digital era coming in, businesses have shifted their focus not only to earn profits, not only to earn value, not only for employment, not only for societal contribution, but they have moved their focus to a much broader scope, right? Earlier, business wanted profit. Profit නැත්තම් වැඩක් නැහැ. Profit නැත්තම් වැඩක් නැහැ. මේ කරන්නේ මොකද? අපි අලුත් project එකක් කරනවා. මේ project එකෙන් profit එක නැත්තම් වැඩක් නැහැ. That is how traditional businesses think. But now businesses are much more focused on three more aspects. What are those three aspects? ESG, right? This is a bit of additional thing I'm teaching you. This concept is there in your syllabus, but they don't go into detail of what these concepts are. But let me explain what this ESG concept is. Right? ESG simply stands for environmental, social, and governance. Environmental, social, and governance. Right? Now, let me give an example. I'll teach you how a traditional business would think, right? And also how a modern business would think. Right? Like I told you, right? Those days, business, a traditional business wants only what? They want only profit. Business other thing, they want to build a factory, right? Let's say they are manufacturing clothes. Clothes, right? If they are manufacturing clothes, they want to build a factory. Let's say they are building a factory. Right? They thought about only what? Factory profit karanne. How do I make profit by building up this factory? But now a modern business. How is a modern business going to think? They will think on ESG. What is this ESG? Environmental, social, and governance. Right. Let's go into what this ESG concept is. Hari, what will you think about? In environmental, there are few examples that are given here. But you will think about the climate change. You will think about the biodiversity. Right? Let me get the marker. Okay. Right. You will think about water efficiency. You will think about energy. You will think about the carbon emission. You will think about the environmental management system. So not only will you think about profits, but you will also think, okay, if I make my factory, how is it going to harm the environment? Right? Will my factory benefit the environment, or will my factory create a chaos inside the environment? So not only will you think about profits, you will also think about, right, how can I also perfectly contribute to the environment? How can I not destroy the environment? How can I not pollute the environment by making up this factory? Clear? Right. Next one, social. Now, when you are building a factory, traditional business, they thought only about what? Profits. Now, how to make a profit karanne. But no, modern business, they will think about environment, plus they will think about social as well. What is this? They will think about giving equal opportunities. Right? Now, normally, a lot of companies these days, right, even high-end companies like, for example, Mars, John Fields Holdings, George Stewart, all of that, they are equal opportunity providers for equal employment opportunity providers. What does that mean? They will give you employment opportunities to anyone, right? That person can be disabled. We don't use the word disabled now. We use the word differently able, right? So let's say opportunity, right? That is what we call as equal employment opportunity provider. I've seen that initiative at Mars. There was a video once, I can't remember when, but there was this lady, she was in a wheelchair and she is heading a department now, right? So that is an equal employment opportunity provider, right? Then they will provide health and safety. They will have good human rights. They will think about the customer and the products, right? They will think about child labor. Okay, just because you want to fulfill employment doesn't mean you have to go with child labor. Okay, just because you want the profits doesn't mean you have to go and take child labor. That is illegal. So what? You are thinking on a much more broader concept. You are not only thinking about the profit motive only. Last one, governance. Okay, this is a new concept which has come in recently, right? But under governance, what do we think about? We think about ethics. Very important. These days, a lot of business don't have ethics. They want profits, but they don't have ethics, right? So it's very important that you follow ethics. What are ethics? Ethics are rules and two different things. I will explain in the future sessions as well. But rules are, you have to follow them, right? If you don't follow them, there's a punishment. Ethics means what? Within your subconscious. Hari. Or danna meka varadi kiyala. Adayega logging varadi na. Right? Logging varadi na. Adayega varadi. So you choose that you want to do it or not. Right? That is what we call as ethics. So business have to focus on ethics. They have to focus on compliance. What is compliance? You comply with the necessary rules and regulations. You comply with the necessary rules and regulations. That is what we call as compliance. Compliance is expensive. Rules and regulations will comply when more expensive, especially in terms of Sri Lankan law. Right? I'll give you a simple example. You know these Microsoft packages, right? Which comes in, so you can buy Word, PPT, or AOPRO. So what do companies do? Because they have to bear a cost. Have a license fee. How do they have a license fee? හරි එතකොට ලයිසන්ස් fee එක ගන්න නැතුව මොකද කරන්නේ ඒකල crack version එකක් ගන්න crack version එකක් ගත්තොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ you have to pay but ඔක audit එකකින් හරි කොහෙන් හරි ඇවිල්ලා ඇල්ලුවොත් you will be that is actually a punishable offense right so that is not illegal it's not illegal but you know ethics right you use a crack it's not illegal to have a crack version a lot of people use it but again boils down to ethics right then again compliance these we will discuss in the future lessons but what happens what I want to teach you is that businesses now not only focus on the profits or the value or the customer they also worry about these three aspects right they also worry about environment social and governance is that clear right let's go to the next one right now we will understand who is a stakeholder right stakeholder theory explained okay first we need to understand now we understood the business now we need to understand then we understood ESG now we need to understand who is a stakeholder right who is stakeholder you must have learned this in your previous programs or classes or whatever right let's say for example there's a business right there can be people who are interested in this business anyone who is interested in the business is what we call as a stakeholder and they can be interested for various reasons right stakeholders are further divided to what are the two internal and versus external ඒ කියන්නේ මොකක්ද internal කියන්නේ මොකක්ද internal කියන්නේ business එක ඇතුළේම ඉන්න කට්ටිය for example owner manager employees right all those three people are inside the business they are not outside the business but they are interested in the business there can be reasons why we'll explain we'll get to the reason in a bit right then there can be external stakeholders that means what people who are outside the business they are not within the business they are outside the business for example government suppliers banks debtors they are outside the business so not debtors creditors they are outside the business but they can also be interested in the business right stakeholders are divided to two main sections internal and external right let's quickly go down through a few internal and external stakeholders so here I've given you the definition of what stakeholders are individuals or groups that have interest in the success of a business right so they are interested in the business then why is the stakeholder important recognizing stakeholders effective for effective governance right so basically once you understand a stakeholder once you understand why they are interested in the business it is much more easier to cater to them and it is much more easier for governance purposes as well right let's explain let's get into it in detail right now I told you right there are internal external shareholders I'm not getting stakeholders sorry I'm not getting into detail of every single internal person and every single external person I'll give you a few examples so that you understand the concept properly right first one is who shareholder now who is a shareholder shareholder කියන්නේ technically a business owner if you buy shares of the company you are a shareholder now why would a shareholder come and buy shares because they want a certain return they are investing their money in the company and they want a return for it so they would be interested in the business why because if the business fails they will lose out their money but if the business is doing good their money will increase therefore they are also interested in the business right then employees why are employees interested in the business why would you if you are working somewhere right now why are you interested in the success of the business why because the business success is also your success right business is doing good that means you will get promotions you will get increments a company that is making loss will not give you increments right will not give you bonuses will not give you promotions no matter how well you perform no matter how well you perform you are the best performing employee of the year but if the business is making loss you won't get anything right no you won't get any monetary benefits so employees are also interested in the business right they are interested in earning a fair wage fair salary job security especially right because if the business is not doing good and if they have to close down what is going to happen to your job it's a risk right so there are different people like this who are interested who are inside the business and who are interested in the business as well right so we can add to that managers right owners or shareholders pretty much right CEO directors all of those people are interested in the business clear get the idea right now we'll move on to the external stakeholders right I've given two here right but I'll give a few more examples as well right first one is suppliers next one is government right why are suppliers interested in the business now who are suppliers suppliers are people who give raw materials to the business let's take an example let's say we are making let's take the factories. Like let's say we are a clothes manufacturing factory, right? We are producing for, let's say, mass. Now mass producers for Nike, Victoria's Secrets, and all of that, right? Why would a supplier giving raw materials to mass be interested in mass? Why? For them it's an order. හරිද සප්ලයි කරෙක්ට මටීරියල් සප්ලයි කරනවා කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕඩරයක් හම්බ වෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට කස්ටමර් කෙනෙක් හම්බ වෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙනවා so if the business is doing good that is when suppliers can actually supply to the company so they are getting a business they are getting money right then moreover that what is another one they are interested is normally when you are supplying goods they give on what basis credit basis හරි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් supply කෙනෙක් බඩු දෙනකොට ඔය තොග පිටින් දෙනකොට මහා පරිමාණයෙන් බඩු දෙනකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දෙන්නේ ක්‍රෙඩිට් බේසිස්. එතකොට දැන් බඩු ටික දෙනවා පස්සේ සල්ලි ටික ගන්නවා. එතකොට කම්පැනියේ සක්සස් එක වැදගත්ද නැද්ද ඒගොල්ලන්ට? වැදගත්. ඇයි කම්පැනියේ බංකොලොත් කරොත් සප්ලයර් සල්ලි ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? බැහැ. You have to consider as a bad debt. Right? So they are also going to have success. They are also interested in the business. Why? If the business is doing good only, they can get continuous orders. If the business is doing good only, they will get the money given for the orders. Right? So therefore, this is very crucial for a supplier's work. Right? Suppliers are one of the main stakeholders. Then government. Why is government interested in such a business? Why? Tax. Government again tax ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර කම්පැනි tax ගෙවනවා. Right? Then to see if they are following rules and regulations. හරිද? Companies are doing illegal work that is against the government interest. Okay? So government will be looking at the business to see, okay, are they actually doing the proper way? Are they breaking in rules and regulations? Business, for example, business එකක් register කරනවා කෑම කඩයක් විදියට. හැබැයි යටි මොකද්ද කුඩු business එකක් කරනවා. එතන මොකද්ද? Government interest or not? It is the government interest. So they will monitor this business. So to follow rules and regulations, to get taxes, right, to provide infrastructure facilities, all of those reasons are why government can be interested in a business, right? Then let's take another one, creditor. Hari, අපි කියමු කෙනෙක් ණයක් දුන්න business එකට. It can be a bank giver, right? Business එක ණයක් දුන්නා. Will that person be interested in business? Yes. Why? If the business is not doing good, this guy can't get his debt back. හරිද? එතකොට මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? A creditor or a financial institution who has given a loan to the business will be interested in the business because they have to recover their funds. So in that case, what happens? They become an external stakeholder. Clear? Right. So that is about the stakeholders. Right. Okay. Now let's go to a new section. Right. Business functions and ethics. Business functions and ethics. What are business functions? What are business ethics? Let's understand. Right. Now, when it comes to business, right? If you guys have heard of something called the production process. Right. Production process. Right. Production process consists of three stages. One is the input, other one is the process, other one is your output. Hurry. There is the input, there is a process, then there is the output. Now, when it comes to the business input, these are the raw materials the business uses. Right? Raw materials business uses. Also in the next section, you will understand something called factors of production. Right? In the econ section, you will understand something called factors of production. We will discuss this in the econ section. Right? Then, I'll leave the process for a bit. When it comes to output, right? Business outputs are always what? It can either be a good or it can be a service. භාණ්ඩයක් හෝ සේවාවක්. Right? Now when it comes to a process, business process there are things what we call as the business functions. එතන මොකක්ද දෙන්නේ මේ business functions එක ඇතුලේ? This is what comes under your business functions. Right? We have accounting, finance, admin, production, supply chain, operations, all of that. These are your business functions. Now, before we go into the examples one by one, right? ඔගොල්ලෝ අහලා තියෙනවද ඉස්සර ඩ්‍රීම්ස් එකේ හිටියා රවීන් තාරුව කියලා ගායකයෙක්. හරි. දැන් ඩ්‍රීම්ස් එකේ හිටියේ ලොකුවට එයා ෆේමස් වුණේ නැහැ ඉස්සර. හැබැයි එයා කොහොම හරි කට්ට කාගෙන ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරලා පුහුණු කරලා එයා තනියෙන් හදාරගෙන සින්දු කියන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා හදාරලා දැන් එයා යම් තාක් දුරකට ලංකාවේ වර්තමානයේ ප්‍රසිද්ධ ගායකයෙක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. right? එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ මොකක්ද ඒක ගන්න තියෙන පාඩම? ඔයගොල්ලෝ මහන්සි වෙලා පුරුදු පුහුණු වුණොත්, ඔයගොල්ලෝ ප්‍රැක්ටිස් එකක් කරොත්, ඔයගොල්ලෝ හදාවරොත්, ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ දේවල් you all can come to a good stage one day, right? So I've spoken a lot. I know you all are tired as well listening, especially when it's found on screen. ඉතින් අපි පොඩ්ඩක් යාගේ ගීතයක් අහලු. මොකද්ද ඒ ගීතය කියන්නේ? right? අපි මේ ගීතය අහලා මේ ටිකක් බලමු.
උදායියේ වූසෑමදේ හදායේ මේ ආදරේ එදා වගේ මගේ අතේ එළිනවාදෝ ඉඩෝ කාලේ හීනෙකසේ ගෙවියාවී ස්නේහගගේ සිනාවාරේ ආයෙමයේ එළිනවාදෝ मैं दुनिया में हर दे माँ ससलोना माँ संताने देते गे विला मैं संकावे लोके माँ उलोना माँ देवना वे प्रेमे ने विला मत आयो ना नुंग गाव इन्नोना काले देवल प्रेमे नम आए नोए किया मत आए नुंगोना नुंग गाव इन्नोना सत पीलगिन सुसुमे तुम ऐसे पिया වගේ සේදීනකි යනවාදුගේ මාත්‍රා වේලිලායාවී කඳුලින් පිරෝනේත්‍රා ආයෙ පාවිවී හිතේ දිල්බේසිනා යාත්‍රා මගේ හදවතේ වේදනාමකා නුඹගේ ළමැදේම නිදනවා ආලින් නිවාරලා मैं दुनिया में हर दे माँ ससलोना माँ संताने देते गे विला मैं संकावे लोके माँ उलोना माँ देवना वे प्रेमे ने विला मत आयो ना नुंग गाव इन्नोना काले देवल आए नोए किया मत आए नुंगोना नुंग गाव इन्नोना सत पीलगिन सुसुमे तुम ऐसे पिया
ගීත අහලා ඉවරනම් අපි පාඩමට යන්න. Okay, now when it comes to accounting, what does it mean by accounting? Basically what you guys are starting to do, right? So accounting consists of two types: financial accounting, management accounting. So basically like bookkeeping, now of course we don't keep books, right? We have accounting packages like QuickBooks, SAP, things like that are there. So we use much more digitalized accounting packages right now. Alright, next one is what? Finance. Finance is what? Finance is much more of a strategic or a management level thinking, right? So when it comes to finance, basically what we try to understand in finance is, if a company has certain amount of money, how are they going to invest it? Where are they going to invest it? What is going to be the ROI? That is what a financial aspect would actually look like, right? More of a strategic level decision making. Now this is you are doing accounting operations. This is what? This is more of a strategic level decision you are going to make, right? Where you're going to invest your fund, how you're going to invest it, how much are you going to invest, all of that will come under finance. Then marketing. What is marketing? Basically, marketing is raising awareness of your product, right? Or product or service. You know, how are you going to raise awareness, right? Now, of course, with digital era, a lot of people are focused on what? Digital marketing, social media marketing, influencer marketing. Are you influencers to the giver? Look हम look girl influencers there. Here, मैं हम product है, ना make a product advice करो, then make it. A lot of people focus on that, right? So your marketing strategy will differ based on your product as well, based on your target audience. Hari, आप give them for example, or मैं hari, आप give WhatsApp काटे product app देना ना, एक social media द्वारा डन है. Hey, product WhatsApp काटे social media बनाने नहीं. But if you are giving a product to cater to a younger generation, then probably marketing it on social media would actually work. Why? Because a lot of young people are always on social media, right? So how are you going to market your product? Comes under marketing, right? Then we have HR, human resource, right? What are the functions of HR? Recruiting employees, अरे अगर employees को recruit करने का, employees को train करने का, right? ये तो employee के लिए ऑफिस से क्या तो लोग करे प्रश्न एक्चुअल ये प्रश्न इसलिए नहीं कर, right? तो बट employees को terminate के, can employees को hire करना वाला, एक आध HR के through तो मैं उसको याद, right? Then operations. What is operations? Basically the production, right? Stock keeping, production, quality maintenance, everything comes under operations. R&D, research and development. What does that mean? Basically, R&D does two things. One is it will show you on ways how to improve the existing product. For example, Apple. Apple does a lot of R&D. Now what happened? They started off with the iPhone, right? How did they start off with iPhone? You guys know how they started off with iPhone. Earlier, who was the market leader? Nokia, right? What happened to Nokia? Nokia failed. Why did Nokia fail? Because they did not do enough R&D, or mainly they didn't want to innovate. Alright, and then what happened? Nokia was the leading. Everyone had Nokia. Mala kisari par choot Nokia phone hai. Tara mein nai game mein keho diye. I also had one when I was very small. Gore school ana kaal hai. Kodi kaal. Right. Ole युवावस्था हमारा phone है काम बोले. तो काम वाला हमारे थोड़ी बहुत का phone है. एक आध Nokia का. Right, but Nokia failed. Right. Why? Because they didn't want to innovate. So Apple saw opportunity in the market. What? They introduced a screen. Right? BlackBerry was a major player in the market at that time. Then Apple came and introduced a screen, touch screen, infinite display. Now Nokia didn't want to change. Right? Nokia was the way. Look, we are the market leaders. Why do we have to change? But what happened when Apple actually came and introduced the touch screen? Everyone transitioned into Apple. What happened Nokia? What happened BlackBerry? Down the Vallam Gia. But still they didn't want to innovate. Then Nokia came up with things like Nokia Lumia. Right now also they have few Nokia phones, but not that famous. Right? But if you look at Apple, what they do constant research and development. They don't put a phone always. Out of the kapare phone ne adana. Hare idhar muka they out of the apple karna igolo research karna. Igolo developments karna. Idhar what happens in research and development? That can be two things. One is you find ways how to improve your existing products. Idhar muka Apple found ways how to improve the iPhone. Now the iPhone 17, the 18, the 20, the what happens? They are innovating from iPhone 4, I don't know, I'm not sure what iPhone number started, but from iPhone 4 to iPhone 17 or 18 or whatever, they have been innovating. That same iPhone keeps coming with new versions. So as a result of what? As a result of research and development. Then developments what? New products. What are some new products they introduced? Right? Remember the iPod Daiwanari, so Rasin Duhan today. How did they introduce it? Right? They introduced it as 1,000 songs in your pocket. Right? Pocket ke down Mr. did the MP3 player, Sindhuhan. Now what happens? They introduced something very small, and the tagline was what? 1,000 songs in your pocket. Okay, Sindhuhan dan pula. And then they introduced new products like the AirPods, right? Then the iWatch, right? Things that they introduced. So those are developments. Research is you add new products, add new enhancements to your existing product. Developments are new products, right? Okay. Then administration. What is administration? Basically, the day-to-day operations of the company, right? All falls under admin, right? Kari function cam order admin right? Production we discussed. Basically producing goods and services, right? Supply chain logistics pretty much goes hand in hand. So supply chain is basically starting from the procurement process. What is procurement? Procuring goods, right? Normally when you go on the procurement process, let's say your business, you want to buy 100 shares, right? පුටු 100ක් ගන්න ඕන. එතන මොකක්ද ඔය කරන්නේ? හරිද? පුටු 100ක් ගන්න ඕන සාමාන්‍ය process එක ඉස්සෙල්ලා request එකක් එන්න ඕනේ. කාගෙන් හරි request එකක් එන්න ඕනේ. request එක ඇවිල්ලා ඒකේ company එකේ head එක approve කරනවා request එක. ඊට පස්සේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් quotation 3ක් විතර ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ තැන් 3කින් විතර බලන්න ඕනේ. නිකන් මේ දඹරක හොඳයි කියලා දඹරක විතරක් ගන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. quotation 3ක් 4ක් විතර අරගෙන some companies want 5 quotations depends on the company. then evaluate these. හරිද? දඹරකෙන් ගන්නවා, සිගේකෙන් ගන්නවා, අබාටෙන් ගන්නවා. මේ තුනෙන්ම ගන්නවා. තුනෙන්ම අරගෙන evaluate කරනවා. හරි. price එක අඩු මොකේද, quality එක හොඳ මොකේද, ඒ වගේ evaluate කරනවා. right? It's not necessarily that they go with the lower price, but quality also comes into play. Right? That is what we call as supply chain and logistics, pretty much hand in hand. Supply chain and logistics basically, logistics is one thing, supply chain nothing. But then when it comes to the procurement process comes, then also distribution. Now let's say you are a company that is making goods and services. හරි අපි කියමු ආදෙන් හදනවා මොකද්ද ඇඳුම් හදනවා t-shirt manufacture කරනවා. එතකොට මේ t-shirt එක distribute කරන්නේ කොහොමද? that is logistics. හරි ඒක යා freight කරනවාද ship එකේ යවනවාද අන්න ඒ ටික තමයි logistics අතරේ එන්නේ. right? So what happens, all of these functions are needed for a business to actually produce goods and services. Right? All of these functions need to play hand in hand, different departments. All of these are different departments inside the business, but all these departments need to come together and hold them hand in hand in order to produce a quality good and service, in order to produce a good quality service, and also to create a good customer base. Right? Is that clear? So these are the business functions. Right?
With us. And today we are going to understand how the practical application of basic economic concepts are used in day-to-day business. And today we are going to clear the past. Let's see how they use these in practical aspects. First, let's dive into the concepts of demand and supply. So when it comes to a market in terms of economics, how we define a market is a situation where a buyer and seller meet. Now, why would a buyer and seller meet? It is because there is something of value in exchange. Now, when it comes to consumer is the person who demands. Because what does consumer want? They need maximum utility or maximum satisfaction. When it comes to producer, what do they want? They need maximum. So how do they meet these two expectations? These two expectations are met by the simple concepts of demand and supply. Where the consumer would demand and where the producer would supply. So in this context, when these two people meet together, that is what we call as a market, and we define demand and supply as such. ₹100 here. I need to buy cabbage. I want to buy mangoes. But as you can see, with this ₹100, I can't buy both of them. Why? Because I have a limited resource, but unlimited wants. This concept is what we call as scarcity in economics, where there is a bridge between the wants of humans and the resources that are available in our economy. Due to scarcity, what happens? I need to make a choice. I have two alternative options, which is cabbage and mango, but I need to make a choice out of one. If I choose mango as my choice, what happens? I need to sacrifice cabbage. If I choose cabbage, I need to sacrifice mango. Therefore, what happens? The fruit or vegetable I'm sacrificing becomes what we call as my opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? Cost of the next best alternative foregone, because I have to make a choice. So we discussed about the market. Now let's look into a new concept, equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. What is equilibrium price? What is equilibrium quantity? Equilibrium price and quantity is basically the demand quantity and supply quantity. It becomes equal to each other, which means the customer is demanding for example, if customer is demanding for 500 units, producer is also willing to supply 500 units. If you look at this right now, the price is 150. But when it comes towards the evening and the demand quantity drops, the consumers drops, what happens? The price will also drop, right? So what happens is the producers will reduce the price in order to make sure that these goods are owned, in order to make sure that more consumers are attracted. What happens when the price decreases? Demand also increases. In that way, we can conclude the law of demand. What is law of demand? There is negative relationship between price of goods and quantity of goods. If you also want to learn different like this, join us at fastpay.com.